childhood magic, and the love of a father. So tonight I have some gourmet chocolate that I got from my family, and I even think that might be a coffee bean. I have no idea what this is, but anyway, try something on it. I've already had more than my fair share. It was actually a full round chocolate dot, so reminds me of dark chocolate. I've been wanting to talk about this book for a while that I read a couple weeks ago called Boy's Life by Robert McCammon. And it really, to kind of put it in perspective, as a summary, it reminded me of The Sandlot, kind of the story of The Sandlot. Less group of friends, but more about the kid aspect and growing up. But it really kind of reminded me of that without giving away too much of the story. It was based in the South, in a small town called Zephyr, 60s town culture. And the story really revolved around a boy and his father growing up. And they really captured the aspect of a kid growing up and getting into the subject of childhood magic. We always, when we're growing up, we're very unfamiliar with the world. We think that it's this big, vast place, and it is very big and vast to us. It's a mysterious place, but it's also a magical place. I'm not talking about any kind of weirdo magic, but I'm talking about an aspect of magic where we think that anything is just about possible, where it is in our younger minds, and we see our bikes as rocket ships that can take us into outer space. We can fly around the world and back, and also based in this culture when things like that were just taking off, like we were just starting to hit the tip of the iceberg with space travel, aliens, extraterrestrial life, the H-bomb, things like that. We were in a very interesting time period. This was like after World War II era, post World War II era. So we were on the brink of some new and upcoming discoveries in science and things of that nature. Creatures of the deep, so to speak. Myth and legends, folklore, small town folklore and myths that were just spread and created around rumors and stories. Lots of stories, storytelling even too as a kid. So there's that aspect and magic of storytelling that you get as a kid and that you do as a kid growing up, and seeing those adventures through a child's eyes and thinking that you're going on this great adventure, kind of like a high fantasy adventure. And another aspect of being a kid growing up with this childhood magic, you don't see your dog as your dog. You see your dog as your companion, your noble steed that you ride on out into battle or onward towards the adventure in your fantasy to take on the dragon, to slay the dragon and get the gold and bring it back to your people. Jordan Peterson reference. So you go on the hero's journey too, very easily described in that. As a kid, my imagination ran wild. I always thought that I was this knight or this person that was going on an adventure. And Lord of the Rings really brought it out for me when I was growing up too. Watching those movies and other fantasy stories and fantasy adventure stories that I watched and read growing up and that I'm reading now. So one part of the book, without giving away too much of it, his teacher has a conversation with him in a dialogue and says to him, don't, to the main character, the boy, don't grow up too fast. Don't rush to be a grown-up and to do grown-up things right away. Because once it's gone for good. And you won't ever get it back. But if anything, learn to live in this present moment. And, on this channel, I talk a lot about meditation and being present. And, this could be one of the reasons why we need to stay present and centered in the present moment, to display that and to just live in the moment, to live life and thrive in life in that present moment, And So she goes on to say that, Corey, don't grow up too fast. Enjoy the life of a boy. Enjoy being a child while you still can. And even when you get older, try not to so much be old, even when you are older. So, and they reference that throughout the book a few more times. And I just really liked that part in the book. She finishes up saying, well, this has been a good run. My job is done here as a teacher. Teaching her elementary school teacher was a good reference. I thought it was a good metaphor for describing childhood magic. And that's childhood magic. Now, the love of a father. So the boy and his dad, his father, are really in tuned in the story. They kind of countercross and come in between each other's main parts. They're both basically the main characters in the story, but it's more or less about the boy versus the dad. But the dad and boy both kind of get tied back into certain parts of the story, which is pretty cool. And the last chapter just really kind of summed it up the best, I thought. And you get to see the dynamics between, the interaction between the son and father. And you get to see that bond. You get to see that compassion, that bond, that love that this father gives to his boy in this day and age and growing up. He teaches him a trade. He takes him to work with him. He teaches him how to be proper, to have those values that most parents teach kids growing up. Some of us aren't privileged as much nowadays. A lot of things have changed in our society and in our world. The other thing, as far as having those values and those teachings, character, the kind of character and kind of person you can be, and that our fathers want us to become, and so you get to see those dynamics play out throughout the entire story. And the last chapter really summed it up too. It's one of my favorite parts. Honestly, the book was just it was so great as a story and compelling. I really don't want to spoil it for you guys. So I would highly encourage you guys to listen to it or read it. I listened to it. I started this book back in high school, and it was really good. And I wasn't able to finish it for a reading class, I think, back in high school. And so I was only like maybe 4 or 5 chapters in, and then I had to quit and get something shorter before the end of my semester. But I highly recommend that you get into this book. It embodies a lot of archetypes, and it's pretty relatable, to certain archetypes that you'll find in small town myths and folklore. But the love of the love of the father and the boy, between the boy and the father, is really good. And it's just it's something that gets captured in the story in and of itself. So it's very good. But yeah, I if I keep talking, I'm just gonna give it away, and I don't want to. So yeah, guys, check out the book, and you know what? I'll leave a link down for you guys below where you guys can check it out. So yeah, and it was really cool for me to finally go back to this book and finish it, and I'm really glad that I did. I'm really glad that I listened to it. So yeah, guys, check out the book, Childhood Magic and the Love of a Father. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great night.